Welcome to Movie Friends. We're your hosts, Seth and Michelle. And today we're talking about Barbie from 2023. Directed by Greta Gerwig. Written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, and every other famous person in Hollywood right now. Today is a very special episode because not only are we covering Michelle's most anticipated movie of the year, not only are we covering my most anticipated movie of the year, but we're covering it with our own personal Ken and Barbie, my wife Jeanmarie, and Michelle's husband Anthony. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, Anthony is literally just like Ken right now.
He is. Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm channeling my full Ken.
What's even more exciting about this episode is we all watched the movie together.
Yes, in theaters.
In theaters, which it's like I've been locked up for a while.
Okay.
I haven't been to the theaters in years.
Okay.
And so when we first got in and I sat in those comfy seats and you can like control,
Yeah.
you know, just everything, I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
I can't believe you could do this. Oh my God, look at how big the screen is.
You get a little swivel table
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. It was a little loud. I know you guys have some notes on
Yeah,
how
we
loud it
watched it in a Dolby theater,
It's the only tickets I could get.
which I didn't know meant anything. But apparently it means it's loud.
Very loud.
But that was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that sometimes there was bass when it was just like tense moments, and it was just like, oh wow, it's really heavy bass.
I think Jeanmarie was saying that maybe Oppenheimer was going on next door.
I think Oppenheimer was next door, and I thought, I wish I had brought my earplugs at some points.
Yeah, because there were scenes that nothing was happening in Barbie for that level of...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably was a movie next door, but it really, like, I don't know. It did feel like it was here, but it was like, yeah, I mean, I was like, what the heck is going on with this bass right now?
Well,
they're just like singing.
It felt like there was like an undercurrent of like serious tones and also like serious tones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Welcome
to the show, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I have a
Thank you.
question. I have a question, though.
Sure.
Is this, like, what are you guys going to do about, like, spoilers and stuff?
Oh, no. So these new release episodes,
It's
spoiler alert.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
So if you're listening to this and you haven't watched Barbie yet, we're going to be talking about the whole thing. So this is your spoiler warning. And now it's gone. And now we can talk about the movie.
Yeah, so if you're spoiled, this is your fault,
Yes,
not
correct.
ours.
Okay, so, Michelle, what'd you think about this movie?
No notes.
Oh, no.
I loved it.
Oh, okay.
It's perfect, in my opinion. I thought it was great. I thought the pacing was great. It's 2 hours. Did not feel like 2 hours. I was totally entertained. I didn't fall asleep.
That's a big plus.
Yeah, it's Friday night. It's like after 11 o'clock right now.
What was the last movie that you saw in theaters?
Maybe Little Women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From Gerwig to Gerwig.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Gerwig brings me to the theaters,
Okay.
except Lady Bird. I didn't get to see that.
Sure.
But
Got it.
what about you guys? Well, you see movies all the time in theaters.
I do, so nothing special that I do.
What about Jeanmarie? When's the last movie you saw in theaters?
Yeah, what did you think?
No Hard Feelings, a movie about Long Islanders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's on Long Island.
That's right.
No bagels, though.
What?
How could they leave bagels out of a movie that takes place on Long Island? Was my number one question.
Wow.
What'd you think about Barbie?
I loved it. Leading up to the movie, I was nervous because there's a lot of hype surrounding Barbie. And I don't like to know anything about the movie. I don't like to have high hopes before the movie. But it surpassed my expectations. I thought it was hilarious and genius. And I would see this again tomorrow.
I agree. What'd you think?
I thought it was very enjoyable. I also don't really like to look at anything, and get, any expectations or anything like that. So going into everything with no expectations, so I'm generally pleased all the time with things.
I think I forced you to watch this trailer because I'm someone who loves trailers, and especially with Barbie. I watched this trailer when it first dropped, which was back in December. I feel like we planned this night where we were like, when it comes out in theaters, Seth, you have to come to Long Island and we have to go July 21st.
Barbie has been a day one plan
Yeah.
for the show since probably before we actually launched the show.
Agreed. Yep, that's correct.
And for a long time, people have not believed me when I said that this was my most anticipated movie of the year. Mm-hmm. They think it's a joke. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the marketing around the movie and a lot of the hype around the movie was definitely based in being extra, I guess. Jeanmarie was saying before we watched the movie, she was like, it's almost like a celebration of being extra, which was definitely evident in the way that people were dressing. And yeah, which is, hey, it's great. I think it's great. And the box office projections for this movie keep changing drastically to today, where they think that it might do 150 million opening weekend, which is crazy. I think that it's been a rough couple of years. And aside from superhero movies, I don't know that there's been a movie that's PG-13. It's not 3 hours long. It's not part of a franchise where you have to know the story. Top Gun Maverick last year was huge, right? Everybody loved that movie. Everyone should see that movie. But this is disconnected from anything, and so anybody can kind of see it. So I'm not really surprised that people are going to the theaters in droves to be happy and experience something funny.
Right.
And I think it definitely is that. There's a lot of crazy, deep themes, crazy things that are said in this movie. At one point, when they're at Mattel, the dude, is his name Aaron?
Aaron,
yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman? And I was like, that's a funny line. But whoa, holy moly. So there's a lot of really serious things being discussed in this movie, but it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah, no, they really just said it, which I really appreciate because, enough. I don't think we need any more symbolism with stuff like this. I think we just need to really just say it.
Sure.
So that it could just be part of a normal conversation that doesn't always become a huge fight over something. We just got to look it in the eyes and be like, yep, there it is. And, you could say it in a funny way that doesn't also disparage the other side,
Jeanmarie, did you have a favorite part or a character or something that stood out to you?
Kate McKinnon, the weird Barbie, was hilarious. Come back to me. I'll tell you my favorite scene later.
Okay, we're coming back to Jeanmarie. Anthony, what about you? Did you have a favorite character or moment or just something that stood out to you?
Yeah, Ken was great. Ken was definitely my favorite. I don't think there was anything in particular. Just a lot of, it was probably more Ryan Gosling, honestly, but just a lot of the delivery of the lines, the thing about patriarchy not being about horses the way he thought it was, pretty funny stuff. Just his dejection, it was a lot of that was very, very funny. The beach off scene, right? That's low rung humor. So boom, right there for me.
Michelle, what about you?
Yeah, I also loved the weird Barbie because after the movie, we were all talking, those of us who had Barbies, and we're like, we all had a weird Barbie. It was very relatable. Also, just the idea, and I guess I never really thought about it, is that my Ken never slept over with my Barbies in the Barbie dream house. You had one Ken and he was in the corner and sometimes he showed up, but really my Barbies hung out with each other and there was sleepovers with they all hung out together.
Sure.
Ken was nothing.
Right.
And so I love that that's how truly it was.
Right.
portrayed. And I really enjoyed Alan.
Yes.
He's not Ken's friend, he's Ken's buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Alan was a very interesting addition.
Yeah.
Where I'm not fully sure all that he is and represents. He was just so strange and odd.
He's like not represented. Like Ken, obviously everyone knows Ken is Ken and Ken, but then there's just one Alan.
Right.
And he's the buddy who wears Ken's clothes, can
Right.
fit in Ken's clothes.
Right.
And there's no other better person to play him than Michael Cera.
Yes. Michael Cera knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see him in a fight scene.
I know. It was great.
Pretty amazing.
What about you?
I don't know what favorite character I have, so I'll just say like a favorite moment. Towards the end, as things are coming to a head in Kenland, or whatever he calls it. Kendom land. The Kens are fighting, and it's like a recreation of like the beach in Normandy, and all of their weapons are fake, or they're using things for weapons that aren't really weapons, which reminded me of when you're a kid and you're trying to set up like large scenes and you don't have enough swords for everybody or you don't have enough guns for the G.I. Joes, and so you take like a toothpick and it's like, well, now this guy has a harpoon or whatever. Ken is singing his song, Just Ken, which is great. It's very funny. And then they go into almost like a dreamlike world, and it really reminded me of Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
Which we just did.
I agree.
And there's the Broadway melody scene, and the character in that goes into this like dreamlike world with like it was like the same color palette, like purple hues and blues, and it's a massive stage. And I thought that was really great. The choreography was really great. It's very, very funny, and the idea that Ken like goes to this other place, and through that comes to peace somewhat with himself and the Ken that he's been fighting like the entire movie. I thought that was also kind of an interesting little idea that sometimes men perhaps should look inwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything Ken was great. Barbie was great too. Margot Robbie was...
Everybody was great.
Yeah. I thought she was really funny, and she has some really great dramatic scenes. And I kind of was expecting that with Gerwig, only because the only two movies that she's done, Lady Bird and Little Women, they're very funny, but they're also very, very serious. And they make a lot of statements on like the relationship of parent to child. This is about a real woman and a doll. So I was like expecting that, but I didn't know how well that would be pulled off. I don't know that this movie has like a major problem, but we are going through like major shifts in tones. I think for the most part, they landed it quite well.
It works.
Yeah. I didn't... When Barbie and Ken leave and go to the real world, I was like, oh, we're going to be in the real world now.
Right.
And then it was just like continually going back and forth between the two. And I thought that was pretty funny.
And I thought it was funny that the head of Mattel was like, oh my God, this is like when Skipper went to Florida. No.
Yeah.
Went to Florida.
Yeah.
And tried to babysit the kid. I was like, oh, okay. So they're aware.
Right.
Which is funny.
Right.
Like we're addressing it. It's not just like two dolls went to the real world. And
the guy, Aaron, is like, so does Barbie Land exist here or is it this? And they'll just say yes. It's like, okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like no, it's like not a mystery, the magic of how it happened. They're just like, yeah, no, this is corporate stuff. Yeah, no, we get it.
What do you think of Will Ferrell as playing the CEO?
He was hilarious. And I appreciated his character and all the corporate guys because they were very silly. And at some points, I was like, oh, this is getting a little serious. This is getting a little dark. But then they couldn't get out of the building. Like they're trying to like swipe their cards. And then eventually I'm like, okay, this is keeping it light. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even need it. They just ran through. We didn't need it. That was good.
I thought he was good. We've talked before about our feelings about Will Ferrell. He can be a little over the top. He fit here with what they were doing. He did appear to be genuine when he was like, I don't care about the bottom line. I care about inspiring young girls in the least creepy way possible. And then at the end, he was almost acting like the Wizard of Oz. And Michelle, you brought up, before we started recording, the parallel between this and the Wizard of Oz. When he says, like, what does he say? It's like, speak to me, young child, or whatever.
Yeah, like, what is your wish or your dream?
Wish?
It's like, oh, wow. Okay.
I thought that was pretty great. What did you think?
Yeah, I liked him. I felt he played the silly well, and it worked for this type of movie. So I liked him. He didn't annoy me. Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of like an Elf thing, though, just a lot like Elf. Like, yeah, it was. With, like a fake world. Yeah, fake world, like in the North Pole, then crosses over, you do a journey.
Sure.
And now you're in the real world.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, I just don't like that movie because I don't like him as Elf.
Right.
I know. I'm by myself with that. Me and my dad, we both are not. My dad hated Elf.
Wow.
Took us Thanksgiving weekend. We used to do that. I never told you our tradition. I know. Here's another. Every Thanksgiving we would eat, and then that night my parents took us to the movies. That was our tradition.
Wow.
And so one Thanksgiving weekend, whenever the weekend Elf came out, my dad took us to see it, and me and my dad and my sister walked out, and we're just like, that was terrible.
Every episode, Michelle reveals more and more just what a big movie guy she is. It's very interesting. So what did you guys think about, like, the real world connections with the Ruth character?
It's kind of like Matrix-y.
Yes.
Seth is like, that's the right answer.
Yes.
I feel proud for saying that. Yes. Thank you for the look he gave me. It was very reassuring. Like, yeah, you're on the right track. Keep it coming. Right? It felt good. That's all. Yeah. Matrix-y. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Jeanmarie?
I thought it was cool. She's obviously the god and the creator of this world that the Barbies live in.
Yeah, it was interesting at the end there. It was very also like Harry and Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. Of like, can I go back? Do you want to go back? Kind of a thing.
Right.
And like, what do we need permission for? Who gives us permission to be what we are and what we want to be? It was pretty interesting. I thought that was cool. And when we first see the character of Ruth, I was like, is she coming back? Like, what was that? Was that just like their small way of referencing the creator? But then she comes back at the end. And I thought it was great. Rhea Perlman is great.
Love her.
Yeah.
I thought of my favorite scene.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
When the teenage girl calls Barbie a fascist.
Yes, I loved that. And I'm so upset that she wasn't in the movie more. The young girl that warns Barbie about Sasha, she was great. I don't know who she is.
Yes.
That girl is awesome.
I don't know who she is, but I want her in more comedic roles. She was so funny.
Yeah, like she knew. She knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. Who was that girl? I almost forgot about her. I'm so glad we brought her up.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, but she was, it was weird, like a weird omnipotence. And, I would guess that you're probably not alone in feeling that. So don't worry, she's going to be in everything soon.
Awesome. There's also a lot of like pop culture and like film references in this. We get The Shining. We get Pride and Prejudice, which I thought was really funny. And then they play some of Pride and Prejudice.
2001 Space Odyssey.
How could I forget?
Of course. I loved the opening.
Yeah, great Helen Mirren voiceover narrator throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
When they referenced that Margot Robbie is not the correct actress to say, I don't feel pretty or what, I'm not pretty anymore. It was like, I'm glad that they commented on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also a little Monty Python.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
When they all come riding in on their horses and they're making the sound.
Yes. That was really great.
Yeah.
The Shining, when they reference her daughter's like, are you shining with her right now? And then we get references to NSYNC, Matchbox 20. One of my favorite uses of like a pop song in recent years. That was so awesome.
What's the title of that song?
Push You Around?
Is that, no.
Push?
Push, maybe?
Push? I don't know.
I wanna push you around.
And then right. Were you feeling very vindicated in your seat when they made the joke about men explaining The Godfather to people?
Did you hear me laugh and say yes? Because that was me. Yeah, that was pretty great.
I was laughing, but inside I was like crying a little bit.
Right.
Like I was like, ha, ha, I have to laugh at this part because if I don't, everyone will know why.
And everyone hears me and they're like, we know.
Yeah.
We know. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was an emotional movie too.
It was. What stood out to you like emotionally?
A couple things. First little tearjerker was when Barbie turns to the elderly lady sitting next to her at the bus stop, I think. And she's like, oh, she realizes, she says, oh, you're beautiful. And then when Barbie realizes that she was coming back, not for this teenage girl, but for her mother to connect with her. And then Ken's whole thing that he has going on where he does not comprehend what patriarchy is. He's just looking for some sort of self-fulfillment or wholeness.
Yeah, Ken's thing. Well, first off, that woman at the bus stop, I was like, who is this person?
Yeah. Anne Roth, a costume designer, Oscar-winning costume designer.
Yeah, I didn't.
I looked it up in the car.
Well, that's fine.
Because
I still didn't know.
Because I did watch trailers and I watched a lot of fan theories
Okay.
throughout, leading up to this movie. And I have to say, I feel like the PR and all of the advertising really did a good job. Like they did a really good job. But there was not one, but a couple of people speculating that perhaps that was Barbara sitting there.
Sure.
But it was Oscar-winning costume designer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the marketing did do a good job because of all the people that I interviewed, which is a YouTube video forthcoming. I would say 1 out of 25 people had seen a Greta Gerwig film before. And so I would ask them, well, why are you coming to see this? And they said, well, the marketing. That was very surprising to me. They were like, well, yeah, like the hype and the marketing, and how can you not go and see it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like you couldn't avoid these two movies, Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like everyone knew about it. Like it's been so many years, like aside from superhero movies, like you said before, where so much of the culture was like, oh yeah, no, those two movies, yeah, I know them,
right?
Because like movies come out, and they come out and they leave theaters before I even realize that it happened. Most of the time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty impressive, marketing, like a lot of viral stuff, I guess, and word of mouth. But can I ask a sidebar question?
Sure.
About Oscars?
Sure.
What is an Oscar, and what is it based on? Who is that, and why is it Oscar?
Is he kidding me right now?
No.
We're talking about Barbie, and you want him to give you the history of the Oscars?
Yeah. Why it's named Oscar, why it's a little statue of a dude. Who is Oscar, and why are we...
I think that you should make a movie now called Oscar, and it will be about how all the Oscars that go to all the different artists are alive.
I think what's got me thinking about it...
The Barbie movie.
No, it's like, it's like the patriarchy kind of thing, I guess. Like I never really considered that it is actually just a man, and that's the highest honor you can get as a little gold dude.
Right.
I don't know. That maybe that's why it just kind of clicked in my head. Sure. If anybody, if people know, like you guys know, is that like a known thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a known thing.
All right. So you can explain it to me later?
Sure.
Okay.
Watch out for episode 2, Oscar. Yeah, it was definitely a mini commentary on like the radicalization of men when they're rejected by women and like they go to the internet and they learn about the way that things quote unquote should be, and they're like revitalized and invigorated, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna change the Constitution now. I thought that they did that very smartly. They did that really, really well. And like when like Ken goes to the library and he's like getting books on horses and stuff. I was literally like, is he going to go on the internet and like go on like some subreddit and like get radicalized into like an incel community?
Yeah.
Close to home.
And they didn't go that far with it, but that's definitely like the he's so enamored with the quote unquote real world because someone respects him and someone like asks for the time, right? And they want his help and they want his input, and he doesn't have to be capable, he just has to be a man. I thought that was really smart. And like Anthony was saying, the movie is saying a lot of stuff just on its face, but it's not being done in a way that's accusatory. It's showing us how ridiculous a lot of the ideas are. And that can communicate much better than standing on a soapbox and pointing a finger. When you expose, the emperor has no clothes in a funny way, you're like, okay, I get it now. So I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel bad for Ken prior to Barbie leaving? Like, Ken is like homeless, I guess?
We don't know where he lives.
Right.
And honestly, I never wondered about it.
Do you care? Like, do you feel for him or no?
I felt as the movie went on, it was very comical, but also just not having self-identity and not truly knowing your purpose and finally finding out, oh, I can be more.
You can be more.
Very nice.
You can be enough. Yes. I think you feel bad or at least I felt bad for the people at the appropriate times that you're supposed to. So I think it did a good job of kind of round robining.
Yeah.
Yes. Like the pain you feel for them and stuff.
What about you, Jeanmarie? What was your Ken journey?
Well, I already told you. I was sympathetic to Ken. I think he learned his lesson. But yeah, I think he really just fell victim to all the patriarchy and stuff in the real world. He just was lonely and felt left out in Barbie world. But you know what? It's Barbie. The Barbie world is not for him, I guess.
When you feel dejected and you feel left out, and you feel like you don't have a place, you kind of go to the corners where you are accepted. And for him to walk into the real world just as this like white guy, like all of a sudden he's on top and he's with everyone. It feels. I'm sorry. It feels good to be accepted.
Absolutely.
And especially when you didn't really have a say in how you got there.
Right.
You're just a part of this now, and it's not even like you are aiming to be making the things worse, but by participating, you make the things worse. But that's also like, I didn't set this up.
Right. And like he said, he's like, I kind of lost interest once I knew the patriarchy wasn't about horses. But like you were saying, it's just like the participation. He's perpetuating this idea that he doesn't even really care about. And yeah, like that's the danger of any type of group that wants to use you, is they first make you feel accepted. How did you feel about the end?
I liked the end. I think we went out on a comical way. Mm-hmm. But I was saying to Aunt, I think I would have been okay if we had the conversation, right, with Ruth.
Okay.
And kind of just had the, Barbie, it's okay you don't know who you are because you're constantly figuring out who you are. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm also okay the way it ended as well.
Yeah.
Of her trading and going into the real world. You just accept
like going into the real world, do you think that was...
You just accept it, and then the first place she goes is like, let me figure out some stuff.
And that's probably the first place you should go to, for sure. Yeah. I thought that was really funny, how they just addressed that head on when she was like, I would like for you to know I don't have a vagina and he doesn't have a penis.
Right.
Like, we don't care.
Right. We don't care.
We don't care.
Right. Yeah, that's okay. It's
yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty insane how like Barbie is getting sexualized and Ken is just like standing there because he just doesn't understand what's happening. Like he doesn't like come to her defense or anything. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever,
Well, he's getting some eyes and like, I look great here.
Right.
Like,
and they're describing the two different feelings. Like she's like, I'm feeling conscious, but of myself. He's like, I'm just feeling like, what word did he say?
Yeah.
It was some positive thing. Like he's like, yeah, I'm feeling good.
It's like a parallel of confidence or something. Yeah.
How did you feel about how like feminism was like talked about or like represented in the movie?
I liked it because I think that, I guess not the classical feminism, the feminism of like the 60s and 70s and white feminism and girl boss feminism hasn't gone far enough. And I liked the ending about how there was like, what do they call it? The ordinary Barbie or just like the regular Barbie?
What, America Ferrera's character?
Yeah, her the Barbie that she came up with, that's having like an existential crisis. That's real.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting critique of that. What did you all think?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on feminism, and I'm going to express them all on this podcast. No, I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I have a lot to say about. I mean, like, I think like I like the conversations. Like I like when the conversations are being had, and I like when you keep trying to push boundaries of things to find where the new edges should be. And I think I think we all get frustrated that things don't happen as fast as we want them to. But, recognizing like, okay, yeah, we took a few steps and then something happens and then we take a few more steps forward and, you got to kind of reinvigorate the base, right? So it's like you have to get people take away some rights. Okay, well, hopefully that gets you all riled because here we go. It's round 7 and there's, an infinite number of rounds. So, it's not like we're going to get to a finish line and be like, okay, everyone's equal.
Right.
We have to keep pressing those boundaries.
Yeah, I thought it was a good point to make that like the creator made Barbie so that people could feel like they could be anything, right? And then this takes that idea and says, well, right, you can be anything, but you also don't have to be something. And all of the different Barbies are like positions or like jobs. Mm-hmm. For a long time, that's how people have identified themselves. Like, I'm astronaut Barbie, or like, I'm lawyer Barbie. And she's like, I don't know what I am. And not knowing what I am has caused me all of this turmoil and pain when it's really just figuring out like who I am. You know what I mean? So I thought it was great. I kind of wish that this movie wasn't rated PG-13, only because a lot of the conversations are very on the nose in a way that I think children would understand. Or they might not understand it consciously, but they would probably understand it subconsciously. And so it being PG-13, I was like, oh, I wish that younger kids were seeing this so that they could hear this stuff when they're 10 and not when they're 20 or 15 or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but once it goes on streaming,
yeah, I think
the younger kids will see
and
it.
honestly, there wasn't anything super crazy, you know what I mean?
No, it reminds me of, I mean, it's different, but in the same vein of like when I saw Clueless.
Sure.
When I was way too young to see it.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily understand a lot that was going on in Clue, or I missed some of the underlining conversations that were happening. And then you'll just watch it later in life and you're like, oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Or you'll have questions and then your parents will explain it to you.
Sure. I know we've talked about a lot of the serious things, but this movie is hilarious.
It's great.
This movie is so funny. I was laughing out loud so many different times throughout. Ken is like, he's so pathetic, but he's so expressive. He's not like whimpering in the corner. He's literally like melting into a puddle like around the corner when Barbie comes to his house and says that she'll be his long distance, low committal girlfriend, whatever. And he's like, hold on 1 second. And he walks into the back and yells, Sublime.
Sublime.
I was just like, that's incredible. Like, it's such good writing, such good performance. A lot of the stuff with Margot Robbie, she's very funny. A lot of the stuff with all the Barbies.
The physicality of like the way all the actors imitated plastic Barbies was hilarious. I loved the foot thing how they're always on tiptoe and then her feet went flat. But beyond that, just all the movements and outfits, I could definitely tell that they were Barbies. And they were moving like Barbies. Like the weird Barbie always doing the split. Yes. Your Barbies are always strewn around your room in that weird position, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you guys play with Barbies when you were younger?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony?
I had Power Ranger toys.
Sure.
Yeah, that was the last. I think when I didn't have those anymore, I didn't really get new like action figures or toys or anything.
The end
like
of
that.
toys.
Yeah, it was like the end of toys into video games. So it's just like
Got it.
I stopped playing with toys.
Got it.
Did you play with Barbies? Did your sisters have Barbies?
Yes, but my mom was very anti-Barbies because of all of the reasons why women are anti-Barbie. So she would only buy like a Pocahontas Barbie or like an African-American Barbie, and that was it. I don't know if my sisters had any of the stereotypical Barbies that Margot Robbie is portraying in the movie. So like that's kind of how my sisters got around that.
Yeah.
Like there was definitely a Jasmine Barbie, a Pocahontas Barbie, a few African-American Barbies, and then we definitely also had Skipper.
Yeah.
There was a few Skippers because that's like a little kid.
I had Pocahontas and Jasmine.
Yeah.
African American Barbie. We had like all of them.
Sure, collect them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we had any blonde Barbies. Just, Esmeralda from Hunchback, she stood out. That was one of my favorites.
I had her too. We had Teresa.
Teresa's my favorite.
Love Teresa.
Who is Teresa?
Well, I'm pretty sure she was the Latina Barbie,
maybe.
but I loved Teresa, Skipper.
How many Barbies were there? Like how many individual?
Hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds.
Yeah, and there was like so many accessories and cars and like different types of vehicles, and you could buy the shoes and the bags, and that was always my favorite part was the accessories.
Sure, you ever chew on a Barbie shoe?
I have done that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
Yeah, some of them are missing heels. They just got chewed off.
Or like the sneakers, I would chew on those. I also used to chew on Silly Putty too.
Did you, when you played with Barbies? Oh my gosh. Silly Putty.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you play with Barbies, was it like a very dramatic storyline?
Always.
That was filled with like infidelity and divorce and
wait.
dramatic car crashes.
Jeanmarie. Yes. Okay. So my sister and I used to play Dollhouse, right? And we had a whole, besides our Barbies, but the Dollhouse. And we used to have all these families. And Becky, who was 15, got pregnant by the basketball player. Yeah. And she was busy taking care of baby Emma when this happened. So yes, we had lots of stories play out, but always a car crash, pregnancy, cheating, divorce. And I always thought, when I used to play dolls with my sister, like when we had American Girl dolls, I was always the divorced mom. Like my husband, Mike, left me with the 2 kids. And I'm like, where did I get that from? My parents aren't divorced. I was always a single mom. Always a single mom. Always playing that out with my dolls and Barbies.
Maybe you had like an insecurity that Mike would have found out that you were chewing on Silly Putty.
Maybe. That could be it.
And that he would leave you.
Yeah. My sister was always married, though. She had like her perfect family. I was like, no, I'm a single mom, taking care of my 2 kids.
I just remembered all the Barbies going into the Jeep because, of course, it's a Jeep and crashing off the cliff, which in our house is a flight of stairs.
Yep.
Tragically.
I did that too. Yeah. I sent them right down the stairs. Also, I loved any kind of pool or a bathtub because I could fill it up with water. So like the Barbies had a pool and I could fill it up with water, and they had anything that I think it was a Barbie where you could put lipstick on with ice. There was a Barbie or a doll. It's very cool. I'm so glad another person had storylines like this. I can't wait to tell Sam because truly, and then Alyssa would come over and play with us and be like, okay, here's what's going on. Becky got pregnant. She's 15 by the basketball player.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a soap opera.
It's soap opera. Is that what you guys do at like Power Rangers and G.I. Joes?
I was so unimaginative with my toys. Like I would just like move the legs and stuff.
Yeah.
And like they had like things I could shoot, and that would be like it. Like, but like no, they did not have stories.
And that was like so for me to be like, oh, what your G.I. Joes do? Like I'm part of the problem. Anyway, Seth, what about you?
Yes, we had profiles drawn out for each one of them, where we would like draw their face in the corner, and then like all of their stats, their name, but not like the names given to us by G.I. Joe. We knew all that too.
Right.
Like we would give them their own name, who they were related to, what their powers were. We had different storylines and different like, you know, one G.I. Joe could be multiple characters in different stories. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing to do was to just set up massive scenes over like my entire room. And so like every toy would be involved in that. Mm-hmm. And then I would like take pictures. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, well, I'm going to take it down now. Mm-hmm. Using like dental floss, I would make like zip lines. And then you have to like tie the G.I. Joes like they're going down a zip line, or you make like parachutes and suspend it from the ceiling. It's like, these guys are coming in. And you have another dude, like if one of your G.I. Joes was like missing part of the arm, you'd put another guy like cutting it off and be like, it's messed up.
It's great. So fun.
I had to bring up one more situation with the Barbie dream house that had an elevator. What do you think happened to Barbies in that elevator?
Right?
Got murdered.
That's
crushed
right.
under the weight of the elevator.
Yeah. Or like lost a leg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes things happened.
It's pretty dark.
Just creative.
Last question. Did this movie live up to the massive amount of hype for you? And you don't have to, but like, what's your overall consensus or like rating for this movie?
For me, it 100% lived up to what I wanted this movie to be.
Okay.
I'm so excited that I wasn't disappointed and that I enjoyed it the amount that I did. And I would recommend it. I would actually go to theaters and see it again.
Holy moly.
Which is like truly a Michelle first. Because once I see something, I'm usually like, no, I'm good. I was disappointed. I didn't like it. I feel like I would have to see it again to like fully give a really good rating. But I would say like, it's like close to 5 stars for me.
Wow.
It's like 4.5, 4.8.
Wow.
Yeah. You?
I'd probably give it like a solid 3.5, and I would probably not see it again for a long time, like a really long time. But I enjoyed having the experience and, being a part of, the group with everyone and being a part of like the bigger picture, everyone enjoying it. And like I said, I had no expectations, so it nailed it. It's a 3.5 out of 3.5 though, so. It's
oh my
gosh.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a real 3.5 out of 5.
Jeanmarie, what about you?
I said at the beginning, yes, this lived up to the hype. And this would be 5 stars on Letterboxd. I would definitely see this again. This is a big cultural moment we're having right now. And I feel like this Barbie movie came out at just the right time in history. This is kind of like when Dark Knight came out, however many years ago. And we saw that in theaters like 3 times, I think. I would see Barbie. Yeah, I would see it again. I'd see it a couple times this summer. But it surpassed my expectations. I enjoyed it.
When we got out of the theater, Seth, you were just like, whoa, this movie is just, there's just so much going on. So I had no idea if you liked it or not.
This movie has a lot going on.
Those were your exact words.
The 3 movies where I think this movie fits in a good 4 quadrant of like understanding like the type of movie it is. I would put this with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Barb and Star, Go to Vista Del Mar, and Barbie. I think that it's a great movie. I think it's so funny. Doesn't need to be 2 hours long. I think you trim up a little bit of the stuff with Mattel, especially.
I thought that was interesting.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm not gonna say it's bad, but clean it up a little bit more. I would also like to see it again. I don't know that I need to see it in theaters though. We didn't really talk about it, but all of the practical sets are insane. If you told me this movie cost $300 million, I would believe it. And it looks great. It sounds great. I thought the soundtrack was great. I've heard some people say like, "Oh, I didn't like the soundtrack." I think that they're just upset that Aqua's Barbie Girl isn't on it.
Yeah.
I thought the soundtrack was great. The song in the beginning that's lining up to everything that she's doing, I was like, hey, wait, it said that and she just did that. And not realizing that that was the bit. I think it's great for Gerwig and Baumbach to like really, really spread their wings and have a huge departure from the movies that they've made before. That's really cool. And it's cool to see that Gerwig can do Lady Bird, which is a story, totally original idea. She can do an updated Little Women, and she can do this. She can do anything. Right now, I think I feel very good about saying like 4 stars. I enjoyed it immensely. I think everybody should go and see it. And I think that it will be a new entry for like absurd, hilarious movies. So for that, and that's like one of my favorite genres. So for that, great movie.
Yeah.
Hey, so now there's nothing to look forward to this year.
I know. Now we have to.
See Oppenheimer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Michelle, you want to go see a 3-hour historical movie
No.
about the bomb?
No. Aunt wants to go.
I want to see someone write a thesis of like the two sides of the coin, the Oppenheimer and Barbie summer.
Well, it's funny because like everyone's like, wow, it's so crazy they're being released at the same time. It's like movies are released at the same time as other movies all the time. I think it was just that these were two movies that were very different from each other and also very anticipated. So it's a funny thing.
I also think that they do that. They probably theaters, and it's probably like a collusion to do it all at the same time. Like to get as much specifically this much hype at this point. The theaters need it. The big movie houses need it and stuff. GM needed it. I hate when they really flash the products in your face.
Yeah.
It takes me out of the movie so fast. I can and then that's all I can think about is the Chevy that they're driving, and
Sure.
we got to find a better way. They got to find a better way.
In this movie?
Yeah, there was so much product placement.
Yeah.
It takes me out of it so.
Well, they kept saying
much.
Barbie.
Right.
And
the whole. Well, yeah.
the on-brand stuff, but then it was just like there always has to be a car, and there always has to be that sliding car scene where it's like, look how cool this car is in this
Right.
color.
The only one that bothered me in this movie was when you're in the Mattel top floor, through the window you can see the Warner Brothers Discovery building, which that was like the big merger that happened, and I was like, get that out of my face. Like, get out of here, Warner Brothers. Like, Other than that, I was okay with it.
I saw that Chevy and I was like, they should be driving a RAV4.
Oh my God, Jeanmarie's a car guy. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks, Michelle. This was fun.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, Jeanmarie.
Thanks, Aunt.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. It's been super fun.
Bye, Barbie.
Hey, if you drive a RAV4, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Also, give us a rating and a review. Why not? What else are you doing with those fingers?
Yeah, leave us 5 stars. And then I'm trying to just get over that, what Seth said. Leave us 5 stars and write us if you played with your Barbies and had very scandalous storylines.
Yeah, we want to hear what were the storylines with your Barbies.
Yeah,
for sure.
That'd be great.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.